short, this monarch could not find refuge in any city. In all these cities, the army of Bani Abbas pursued Marwan Haimar and he fled from one place to another, until he was eventually killed at the end of 132 AH in the city of Bizr in Egypt. With his death, the Caliphate of Bani Umayyah ended. So, the roots of the people who were unjust were cut off. And all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the world. 645. 1,000-month rule. Masudi says, the total duration of Umayyad rule, till the time when allegiance was taken for Abu al-Abbas Safa, was 1,000 months, because they ruled for 90 years, 11 months, and 13 days. It is narrated in Tafsir ar-Razi that Qasim ibn Fazl quotes Imam Hassan, as saying that the Holy Prophet saw in a dream that the Umayyads were jumping on his pulpit like monkeys. This made him very uneasy, so Allah revealed Surah Al-Qadr and told his beloved Prophet that this one night of Qadr glory is better than 1,000-month rule of Bani Umayyah. Qasim says, when we calculate, we find that Bani Umayyah rule lasted 1,000 months. 1. Bani Abbas exploits the situation. At that time, the world of Islam was in the grip of a general conflagration and discontent. All the people were fed up with Umayyad rule and their intellect and hearts were drawn towards the descendants of Imam Ali. 1. Revolt against Bani Umayyah took place under the name of religion and preservation of Islam. Descendants of the Prophet were the trustees of faith and the defenders of Islam. If they assumed the reins of government, they would act according to the Sunnah of the Prophet, establishing justice and protecting the rights of the people. 2. The Shias and the descendants of Imam Ali were the first group that campaigned against the crimes and despotism of Bani Umayyah. They sacrificed their lives and wealth to achieve this object, and further demanded that whoever had suffered a loss must be compensated for it. 3. The descendants of Ali, and Shias of Ali, were a strong opposition group who campaigned against the rule of Bani Umayyah secretly and sacrificed their lives and property in this regard. And like the holy Imams, the noble-minded Shia, too, faced out being killed or tortured. The best confirmation of our claim is provided by the following extract from Tariq Kamil of Ibn Athir. The last day of the Umayyad rule was celebrated by the people as a day of thanksgiving. They were under the impression that now the descendants of the Holy Prophet will replace Bani Umayyah. Bani Abbas had risen in the name of martyrdom of Husayn, Zayd, and his son Yahya. Bani Abbas exploited the anger of the nation against Bani Umayyah and took maximum advantage of the dispute between the Shias and the Umayyad regime. But who could have known that they had a dagger up their sleeve? In the beginning, Bani Abbas used to say, our goal is to topple the Umayyad regime and save the people from oppression. When Umayyads are defeated, we shall reach a consensus and select a chief from amongst the descendants of the Prophet. At the beginning of the campaign, Bani Abbas did not nominate anyone from among themselves or others as the chief. They mentioned only their first object, viz. The defeat of Bani Umayyah. It was just like France and Britain saying, while they were at war with Turkey, that they were fighting to free the Arabs from cruelty and oppression and would, after achieving victory, free the Arabs, and hand over the government to them. But they betrayed the Arabs, and when Turkey was defeated, France occupied Syria and Lebanon, and Britain brought Iraq and Jordan under her control, and gifted Palestine to Israel. 2. The famous Orientalist Wellhausen writes. The famous Orientalist Wellhausen writes, Bani Abbas kept secret their intention to deprive Bani Fatima of the government. To deceive the people, they used to say that they were fighting for the benefit of Bani Fatima, Lane Khorasan and other places. They said that they would avenge the blood of all martyrs from the children of Fatima. On this basis, they wanted to benefit from the support of Shias and reach to the throne stepping on their shoulders. When the Shias mentioned about power sharing, they said, we would solve this matter through consensus. Bani Abbas acquired ascendancy in the name of the Alawis, who were carrying desperate campaigns against the Umayyad rule. However, when they obtained power, they paid no attention to the Alawis and manifested their hard-heartedness and cruelty. Before the crimes of Bani Abbas are recounted, it is necessary to understand their general position. Who were Bani Abbas? In the matter of oppression, cruelty and licentiousness, Bani Abbas were the same as Bani Umayyah. There was no difference between the two in committing sins openly and expressing infidelity. It was so, because they had no regard for religion or divinity. All that mattered to them was worldly riches. Their carnal desires had no bounds. They beheaded people, put them on gallows and demolished houses on those who were still alive inside. Ibrahim III and his brother Safa were like Muawiyah. Mansur and Harun were like Hisham, and Mutawakkil was another form of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. As far as we know, most rulers resort to bloodshed to safeguard their throne. Or, according to their own claims, create insecurity to ensure the survival of their rule. However, what has been mentioned about Bani Umayyah, and will be described later about Bani Abbas, shows that they did not kill to strengthen their government or to ensure security. Their only object was treachery and bloodshed. Towards the end of the Umayyad rule, due to their evil character and because of their murderous ways, the revolt spread everywhere. Ibrahim, the brother of Safa, sent Abu Muslim Khorasani to Khorasan and said to him, "Listen to my advice carefully. Take interest in the Yemeni group, honor them and associate with them, because Allah completes the caliphate through them. Defame the Rabia tribe and say that the end of the Mudir tribe is near. Kill those whom you suspect and liquidate the Arabs from Khorasan, if possible. Accuse every boy who is about 1 meter tall and kill him." Ahmad ibn Ali Makrizi, after quoting the above incident in his book, An-Niza wat Takasum fi Baina Bani Urnaya wa Bani Hashim says, "May Allah hold you dear." What connection has this recommendation with the recommendations made by the Orthodox caliphs to their governors? By Allah, even if Abu Muslim had been dispatched to fight against the polytheists, such recommendation would not have been lawful, whereas in this case he was being sent to an Islamic territory to kill the children of the Muhajirs, the Ansars, rather all the Arabs, to take away from them lands they had taken from the enemies and received from their ancestors. The Abbasids wanted to occupy the lands, enjoy the funds from public treasury and enslave the servants of Allah. Abu Muslim acted according to the instructions of Ibrahim. Now the question is, what is the difference between the remark of Ibrahim who said, "Kill those you suspect," and that of Muawiyah who wrote to his commanders, "Punish in the worst way every person that is accused of being a Shia of Ali and pull down his house." Abu al-Abbas Safa appointed Muhammad ibn Sa'al as governor of Mosul. The people of Mosul did not obey him, and he wrote to Safa to send another governor in his place. Safa sent his own brother Yahya with an army of 12,000. Seeing such a huge army, the people of Mosul became afraid and sought amnesty. After granting them amnesty, Yahya resorted to unprecedented bloodshed, so much so that blood began to flow in the streets and one's feet are immersed in it while walking. When night fell and Yahya heard the women wailing for their men who had been killed, he ordered that the women and children also be killed. This massacre continued for 3 days. 4. When we compare this incident with the recommendation of Ibrahim to Abu Muslim, we conclude that when it involved persecution, the Abbasids were much ahead of the Umayyads. If we had held the belief in transmigration of soul, we might have said that the spirits of Muawiyah and Hajj entered the bodies of Ibrahim and Yahya respectively. Safa, the Abbasid. Safa's name was Abdullah, and his patronymic was Abu al-Abbas. He was the first ruler of Bani Abbas. He received pledge of allegiance in the year 132 AH and he died in 136 AH after having ruled for a little more than 4 years. The Abbasids had come to put an end to the persecution by Bani Umayyah. However, after securing power they left even the Umayyads behind. They searched and pursued every member of the Umayyad clan and put them to death in the most horrid manner. So long as Safa felt that there was the last breath of life in the body of Bani Umayyah, he did not sit still. He went a step further and annihilated all those persons whose loyalty he doubted or from whom there was danger to the Abbasid regime, as he did in the case of Abi Salam Aqilul, his brother, Yahya, in Mosul, his uncle in the Hijaz, his second uncle, Sulayman in Basra, and Abu Muslim in Khorasan also took similar steps. Sharik ibn Sheikh Mari quarreled with Abu Muslim in Bukhara and said, "You must act according to justice. We did not give allegiance to Bani Abbas so that they might resort to bloodshed." Abu Muslim killed him and subjected his 30,000 followers to punishments. Safa was given this title, which means shedder of blood, because he shed blood excessively. It is said that he invited 80 individuals of the Umayyad family to receive prizes and have dinner. When they arrived, he ordered them to be killed. Carpets were then spread on their half-dead bodies, and Safa began taking his meals. When the meals were over, he said, "I had never before had such delicious meal." Bani Umayyah deserved to be killed. However, to invite them to a feast and then to kill them, and to later take meals sitting on their bodies, was such a meanness which even Bani Umayyah were not endowed with. Many persons, especially the poets, instigated Bani Abbas to shed the blood of Umayyads. It was only the descendants of Imam Ali, who forbade Bani Abbas from shedding Umayyad blood recklessly, and found excuses for the safety of those of them who were alive. Although the descendants of Ali were the target of most of the crimes of Bani Umayyah, the former did not think in terms of revenge. It was so because they were the descendants of the one who spared Amr ibn Az in the Battle of Siffin, forgave Marwan in the Battle of Camel, and permitted water to Muawiyah and his army after gaining control over it. 5 And who said, "When you are victorious over your enemy, make forgiveness the thanksgiving for your victory." There was nothing new in the conduct of the descendants of Imam Ali, because they were the members of the family of justice and piety. Ibn Athir writes, Dawood ibn Urwa, a governor of Bani Abbas, decided to eliminate Bani Umayyah from Mecca and Medina. Abdullah ibn Hassan said to him, "If you kill Bani Umayyah, before whom will you display your strength? Is it not a sufficient torment for them that all the time they see you on the throne of authority and find themselves abject and humble?" However, Dawood ibn Urwa did not accept his advice and killed all of them. 6. It was expected that Safa would accord preferential treatment to the descendants and followers of Imam Ali, because the Alawis, Shias and Abbasids had jointly struggled to annihilate the Umayyads. Bani Abbas made use of the Alawis. Their political slogan was, "We are supporters of Ali's descendants," because they knew that the people accorded more respect to the Alawis in comparison to the Abbasids, and that the people were more devoted to the former poets and the Abbasids. Intoxication of power showed its evil. As soon as they secured the kingdom, the Abbasids became aloof from the Alawis and the Shias. Muhammad Ahmad Barak writes on page 48 of his book, Abu al-Abbas Safa, "The foundation of the revolution was actually laid by the descendants of Ali. Because most of the people of Khorasan 7 were devoted to the al-Bayt, 8 and were not interested in Bani Abbas. It was for this reason that Safa and the later caliphs kept watch of all eyes on Khorasan so that the Shias there may not become organized against them. Bani Abbas commissioned the poets to versify their praises and rewarded them well for this. Hence the poets criticized the descendants of Ali, and declared them to be unworthy of caliphate, saying, Bani Fatima are related to the Prophet through their mother, whereas Bani Abbas are related to him through their father. Besides buying over the poets, Bani Abbas abandoned the religion of al-Bayt and adopted the al-Sunnah faith. They did this to prevent the spread of Shia faith, and that rulership may not shift to the descendants of Ali after them. In this way, Bani Abbas continued the policy and objective of Bani Umayyah and became like them in their belief, policies, and actions. Safa did not kill any Shia and did not persecute any Shia like the later Abbasid caliphs. But that was only because his attention was focused on eliminating the Umayyads and towards consolidating his power. Also, it was because Safa and the Shias had until recently fought jointly against Bani Umayyah, and the Shias had assisted him in securing power. In addition to this, Safa's seat of power was Kufa, where the residents were followers of Imam Ali, and he did not possess enough strength to fight them. Whatever the situation might have been, during the last days of Bani Umayyah and the initial period of the Abbasids, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir and Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq had a good opportunity to expound and spread the teachings of al-Bayt. It is as a consequence of their efforts that Islamic libraries today are replete with books on traditions and various subjects like jurisprudence, philosophy, exegesis, ethics, etc. Mansur, the Abbasid. The second Abbasid caliph was called Abdullah, his patronymic was Abu Ja'far, and Mansur was his Title: He was the son of Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Abdullah ibn Abbas. Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib was the paternal half-brother of Abdullah, the honorable father of the Holy Prophet. Oath of Allegiance 4. Mansur was taken in 136 AH and he died in 158 AH after ruling for 22 years. Historians write, apparently Safa, brother of Mansur, was the first Abbasid caliph. But the real founder of the Abbasid dynasty was Mansur. Safa's rule lasted for only 4 years, and it was Mansur who gave stability and grandeur to the regime. Mansur's nature was a mixture of good and evil. He understood people and their temperaments. He developed contacts with the people and selected a group of influential religious scholars who might sincerely support and protect the government of Bani Abbas. He capitalized on their influence and contacts for its preservation. Mansur was the first person who created a rift between Bani Abbas and the descendants of Ali, whereas before that both formed a single group. The claims of the historians are correct, except for the part stating that his personality was a mix of good and evil. It is inaccurate to say that Mansur's morals were composed of good and evil because he was intrinsically an evil-minded person. When he noticed the people's attachment to religion and realized that religion had an influence on their nature, he adopted an approach using religion. He constituted a body of religious scholars who might introduce him to the people, and also paid homage to him. Mansur made a show of piety, but at the same time committed oppression and sin. If it is said that he combined good and evil, it means that he had combined intrigue with piety and sanctity, and it was on this account that he was reckoned to be a specimen of good and evil. However, not even one proof can be put forward to show that Mansur liked goodness only on account of its being goodness, because whatever good he did, it was hypocrisy and deceit. State preacher Ibn Abd Rab al-Andalusi has written 9 in that one day a state preacher was sitting with Mansur when Mansur told his sepoys to summon a few people and behead them. When too much blood was shed and his own dress was stained with it, he turned to the preacher and said, "Please preach to me." When the preacher reminded him of Allah, Mansur cast down his head like one very much aggrieved. He then ordered the sepoys to once again bring some people and behead them. Again, when too much blood was shed, he turned to the preacher and said, "Preach to me." Mansur's asking the preacher to give him counsel was to ridicule religion and the Quran, because the Holy Quran is emphatic against shedding of innocent blood. It is also possible that he asked for counsel because the people had lost the power of reasoning and had become so stupid that he failed to distinguish between bad and good. And the conditions were so uncertain that some modern authors have written that Mansur had a split personality. They say, as he was a true believer as he attended sermons, but he had to resort to bloodshed to keep his rule safe. However, it is an impure nature which is manifested in 2 ways, at times in the form of oppression and crime, and at times in the form of show-off, hypocrisy, and fraud. When Mansur learnt that he was being called a God-fearing caliph and that people were pleased, and that their fondness for hearing sermons increased, he summoned preachers, heard their words, and gave them rewards so that they might propagate among the people that the caliph was not oblivious of Allah. Whenever the judgment day was mentioned, he would begin to weep. These preachers were not unaware of Mansur's aim. Hence, those who were pious and sincere left him, whereas those who had considered religion a source of income flocked around him. Mansur also wrote to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, and invited him to attend his assembly, but the Imam did not agree to go there. Mansur wrote in one of his letters, "Why don't you come to me like others do?" The Imam replied, "I have no material wealth on account of which I may fear you, and you have nothing in the hereafter that I may seek from you." One day Mansur saw Sufyan Thawri and said to him, "Give me some good counsel." Sufyan said, "You have not acted on that which you know, and now you want me to tell you what you do not know." Mansur said, "Why don't you come to my place?" Sufyan replied, "I do not come to your residence in obedience of divine command. Allah says, 'And be not inordinate O men, surely, he sees what you do.' 11:112. And do not incline to those who are unjust, lest the fire touches you. 11:113. Mansur said, "Tell me what you want." Sufyan replied, Do not invite me to your assembly and don't give me any money till I ask for it. Mansur said, I have hunted many religious scholars by means of wealth and captured them, but Sufyan has escaped. He tires me off. In this way Mansur has disclosed his aim in associating with ulama and revealed the fact that he has made religion a tool of hunting and made money a means of capturing the ulama. Mansur and the mysterious preacher. It is said that one night, while Mansur was performing circumambulation of the Kaaba, he saw a stranger who was saying, O God, injustice and corruption have appeared, and separation is created between truth and its followers. And I complain to you regarding this and seek your assistance in the matter. Mansur summoned the stranger and asked, What were you saying? The stranger said, Do you vouchsafe for me safety if I say something? Mansur assured him that he would remain safe. The stranger said, You are the ruler of Muslims but have raised a wall between yourself and the people. And do not permit people to contact you and tell you of their grievances. Your ministers and advisors are unjust, and your workers are pleasure-loving and sinful. They say, Mansur is deceiving the people and Allah, and we therefore have no alternative but to be deceptive with him. In this way the entire country has drowned in oppression and injustice. However, you believe in Allah, you are the son of the prophets. Uncle, and you are very kind to the Muslims. Mansur said, O Lord, grant me tawfiq divine opportunity to act upon what this man says. This is actually a fabricated story that historians and scholars of ethics and preachers narrated from the pulpits. No one has objected to this story, and all consider it authentic. But in my view, it is merely a fiction. If it were not fabricated, the counsel giver would not have been a stranger. If it was Prophet Khizr, why did he appear for Mansur only and not preach to other tyrants too? It seems that through this story Mansur wanted to tell the people that he was made caliph as per divine will, that he had faith in Allah, he was the son of the Prophet's uncle and was kind to the people. He accomplished this plan by claiming that he met Prophet Khizr and thereby proved that Allah had shown kindness to him through Prophet Khizr. Masudi writes that one day Mansur entered his room and saw the following couplets written on the wall. O Abu Ja'far, your death has drawn near. The divine decree must come to pass. O Abu Ja'far, fortune tellers and astrologers cannot ward off death. Don't be foolish. Mansur summoned his minister, Faisal ibn Rabi, and said, Did one not order you to assure that none should enter the house and write on the walls? Faisal said, What was written? Mansur replied, Can't you see these verses? Single quote. Faisal said, By Allah, there is nothing on the wall. This event resembles the activities of the agents of colonialism who condemn colonialism publicly, but secretly work in the interest of the colonialists. In the above paragraphs we wanted to prove the falsehood of Mansur and expose his deceitful tactics. Our real object in discussing Mansur's beliefs was to throw light on his policy in relation to the descendants and Shias of Ali, Mansur and Imam Ali's descendants. Apart from Abdullah ibn Abbas, the family of Bani Abbas was an obscure and unknown family. If not for their relationship with the Prophet, they would not have been mentioned at all in history. On the contrary, Imam Ali's family, Bani Hashim, possessed perfect knowledge and faith in every age, and the hearts of the people were inclined towards them. All of them, from Imam Ali, all the way to Mahdi, possessed unparalleled greatness and virtue. In order to acquire dignity, Bani Abbas thus linked themselves with Imam Ali, his descendants, and the Holy Prophet. They attended the assemblies of Imam Ali's descendants with great respect and acquired knowledge from them. When Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Hassan mounted a horse, Mansur held the stirrup and brushed his dress when he was seated on the horseback. When the Umayyads were on the verge of defeat, the descendants of Ali, and Bani Abbas rallied around Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Hassan and gave allegiance to him. Ibrahim, Safa and Mansur were among them, but Mansur showed greater zeal for allegiance to Muhammad. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq was also invited to this gathering and on his arrival, was asked to accept allegiance. He tapped Safa's back and said, This man will become the caliph. Then he pointed to Mansur and said, After him, the caliphate will come to this man. Thereafter, turning to Abdullah ibn Hassan, he said, Your two sons, Muhammad and Ibrahim, will be killed at the hands of Mansur. Having said this, the Imam departed. 10. After Safa, when Mansur became the caliph, Muhammad ibn Abdullah went into hiding. Mansur demanded him from his father and decided to eliminate him on account of the Pledge of Allegiance. Muhammad owed him to relieve himself of anxiety. He, therefore, engaged detectives to arrest Muhammad and his brother Ibrahim. Eventually the two brothers felt that they had no alternative but to surrender to Mansur or wage a war against him. Hence Muhammad raised the standard of revolt in Medina and Ibrahim, in Basra. They fought, but they were finally killed along with a large number of descendants of Ansars and Muhajirs and the children of Ja'far ibn Abu Talib and also the children of Imam Husayn, Husayn and Ali, two sons of Zayd ibn Ali ibn al-Husayn were also killed in the company of Muhammad, known as Nafs Zakiyah. Masudi writes that Mansur had a sweetmeat made of kernel and sugar prepared for him and ate it. He liked it very much. He remarked, "Ibrahim wished to prevent me from taking this and other similar foods." It was as if it was nothing serious for Mansur and he killed the descendants of the Prophet only for the sake of tasty foods. Atrocities of Mansur. It is mentioned in Maruhuz Zahab 11 and in Nizawat Taqasim 12 that Mansur gathered Imam Hassan's descendants and ordered them to be put into chains and iron collars. They were made to mount litters without saddles and sent to pitch-dark dungeons, as was done by Yazid in the case of Imam Husayn's family. In such a situation they divided the Quran into 5 parts and before each daily prayer they recited one part of Quran. The prison they were kept in did not have toilets and they were obliged to empty their bowels at the place they resided. As a result, its foul odor caused their bodies to swell. This swelling commenced from their feet and reached their hearts. They departed from the world on account of serious illness, hunger, and thirst. Makrizi has quoted from Tariq Kamil in An-Nizawat Taqasim that Mansur summoned Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Uthman, a brother of Imam Hassan's descendants from their mother's side, and ordered his dress to be torn till his private parts were visible. In that condition he was given 150 lashes. Once the whip struck his face and he said, "Woe betide you! Spare my face at least." Mansur ordered them to strike his head. 30 lashes were, therefore, given on his head. One of those lashes struck his eyeball, which came out and fell on his face. At last, he was put to death. Ibn Athir writes that Mansur also summoned Muhammad ibn Ibrahim ibn Hassan. Muhammad had such a delicate build that he was nicknamed Brocade. When he arrived, Mansur asked him, "So, you are the yellow brocade? I swear by Allah that I shall kill you in a manner none has been killed." Then by his order, Muhammad was buried alive in a pit and a pillar was constructed over his body. Muawiyah used to bury the people alive without allowing them to say anything, but Mansur buried them alive and built pillars on them. Thus was the difference between the Syrian regime and Iraqi kingdom. And this very policy distinguished Bani Umayyah from Bani Abbas. We have not seen during the Umayyad rule that one of their governors imprisoned some individuals in a dungeon where all of them died one after the other under unbearably odious surroundings. Hence, a poet says, "By Allah, the crimes of Bani Umayyah were not even 1/10 of those of Bani Abbas." It is mentioned in An-Nizawat Taqasim 13 that Qasim ibn Ibrahim Tabatabai had an estate in Medina, which was called Ar-Ras. When Mansur summoned him also, he left Medina and ran away with the intention of going to Sind. In his verses, Qasim says about Bani Abbas, "Shedding our blood has not satiated Mansur and he is still pursuing us. The fire of their malice can be extinguished only when none of the descendants of the Prophet's daughter is left on earth." Qasim walked barefoot and his feet bled as he fled from one city to another. He says in a couplet, "It is hoped that the bone joiner will set the broken bones." 14 I have not lost hope in Allah. He will indeed help those who suffer hardships. It is mentioned in An-Nizawat Taqasim 15. Mansur entrusted a room to the wife of his son, Mahdi, and administered an oath that so long as he was alive, she would not open the room. When Mansur died, Mahdi opened the room and he saw that dead bodies of descendants of Abu Talib were lying in it. Their parentage was written on pieces of paper, hanging from their ears, and some children could also be seen amongst them. Makrizi writes, What connection such crimes have with justice, with the religion of Muhammad and with the conduct of religious leaders? What link has this hard-heartedness with the kinship of the mercy of the worlds? By Allah, these actions have nothing to do with religion and faith. On the other hand, these indecent actions are mentioned in Quran as follows. O hypocrites! But if you held command, you were sure to make mischief in the land and cut off the ties of kinship. 47. 22. Those it is whom Allah has cursed, so He has made them deaf and blinded their eyes. 47. 23. Is this the conduct of one who claims that he has faith in Allah, the Judgment Day and the Quran, and that he is the Caliph of Allah and son of the uncle of Allah's Messenger? Imam Ja'far is Sadiq and Mansur. Mansur gave the title of as Sadiq to the sixth Imam, because Imam Ja'far had earlier correctly predicted Mansur's rulership. He had also predicted that Muhammad and Ibrahim, the two sons of